Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this 1.05 second 5x5. I mean, it has a couple of nice features. If it wouldn't lag, is that it's relatively small. It has a 2 high top and a 3 high bottom, so it's relatively small. So making it 936. And another nice feature about it is it's 100 plus. And yes, I have tested it. And it works in previous versions, so none of that logs, leaves, target blocks, no features other than like 1.11 features that would still work until this day. Now, this is a bit of complex redstone, I will warn you, but I'll try to explain how it works to the best of my ability, and I'll show you everything you need. Let's go slow schematics, and I'll show you the material list, and I'll just block that off so you can see for a bit. We're going to scroll down. No, you don't need those exact colored wool, but you pretty much need these materials. If you didn't see that, of course. And you might need a couple of items here and there. But this dropper right here is only to silence items. But I'll tell you if you need an item here and there, so you can make note of it. But the first thing we're going to do is our layout, and I can explain to the best of my ability how it works. I did not come up with this layout, but I'll show you how it works. Before we get even further, right? This is where your floor is going to be, and this is how tall it is. So we're going to use the standard for this layout. We're going to have pistons like this. For the bottom, pretty easy. And also don't forget the storage, because these will swap. Yeah, we need that. And then we're going to have 4 doubles to collect the these pistons. So we're going to do that. And we're going to have just normal pistons to push out to displace the blocks. I'll show you how it works in a bit if you don't know already, but it's okay if you don't, but I'll show you anyways. We're just going to have 4 doubles, like that. And then we're going to have a fold on the top. Because, actually, right, I'll show you what allows this to be, in general, as small as it can be. Instead of having a triple, we're just going to have a fold, just because it's 2 high instead of 3. Which is one of the things to get it like 936 and below. But that's not important, just showing you. Then we're going to have 2 sliders, like so, for the to help power this when the pistons are collecting their blocks. We're going to have that. Pretty standard. And we're going to have pistons like that and like that to push them down. Then, if I don't mess this up, this was a bit too, but you want to place 4 sticky pistons right here, and I can explain later, but yeah, that's your layout. Let me just clear the time so you can see this better. So we're going to have some dust right here for to power those pistons. And I can explain how it works. For the bottom, we one tick that up, and we just pretty much retract those. We're gonna push these up, and then one tick it again, and then this is how it actually happens, but you can make it faster, but that's not important. We power that, one ticket, ignore that, and then one tick this, and then push that up. For the top, we one ticket, and then we do that. Oh, I forgot something very important. Don't forget that piston. It helps a lot. It's a stacked triple. Make note of that. And we have this there. And for the pistons, these will push out. And then we will one tick them, and we will push these into it, and then power them, and picture this is powered, and we'll just probably leave it as it is because this side is exactly the same. But let's first start off with the sides, I guess. The first thing that will happen was these will retract, these will pull back, and these will retract at pretty much the same time. Then we will push these out, and then we will power these, and then basically, oh, one more, sorry, I made another mistake. It has to be like this. And then we just pretty much power these sliders, and it will do all that. And we power it down, of course. Oh yeah, because it's powered. And then we power it down. Picture that did that. And then we retract that, and then retract these, as you see. So basically, it just kind of folds it and then does a double extension. And this part is a bit interesting because it's a fold, and instead of having a triple and then from the top pushing it down, we basically do this. So this powers, this retracts, and this extends at the same time, but this is already collecting that. So basically this collects this then, and then this retracts, and then this retracts, and then we grab the double. I'll explain the timings later and how we accomplish this, how we do this, but then we power them. And for, we'll just one tick them out, even though they're not one ticked in the door. We'll then retract it up like this, right? Oh, yeah, since it's a fold, that will do that. Like, I'll show you again with the top at least, because I don't think I did it properly. We'll one tick it. We'll then one tick this on closing, so we'll be like that. And then on the opening, it'll be like this, 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 this. And then we'll one tick it. And then we do that, that, that. If you have any questions on how the layout works, just leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer it to the best of my abilities. And replace that. So it's a pretty standard layout. And so we'll start with the input circuit afterwards. So we'll swing by here, and we'll come here, place 2 observers, and we'll place a redstone block, or sorry, a normal block. We'll place sticky with a redstone block. Oh, these observers are for later, and you'll see when I explain them. And then we'll have 4 observers. We'll have a hopper to power these, and that'll be explained later. But basically, we're gonna do, of course, place that back. And then we're gonna have a repeater here. No, a repeater 1 block lower, or sticky for the storage. I'll tell you what it does later. And that slab so we can carry up the dust line. And then we're going to have redstone dust here. And when we get to here, we are going to redirect it, and it'll be pretty obvious soon why. Because it'll power a piston, which is a big no-no. And so let's get rid of that. And then we're going to swing up here, block, and then slabs, and that will take care of this. We're going to do it one side at a time, I guess, but we'll just, how about we just finish this side so it'll be easier. So, pretty much the same thing, but a little bit different, because it's not too much different, but you'll see. Is we'll have 3 blocks like that, and then we'll carry up the slab line, like so. Place dust in all of them. Pretty standard run-of-the-mill 1.05 sides, I guess. And then place dust, and then we'll have blocks. So you can place your dust and your inputs. Now, we're going to do the sides. We're going to do that green, I guess. So, we're going to have blocks with dust on them. And then we're going to use this very important slider. And this side, I'm not going to say it's bad, but you need to pay attention because there is a slight difference based on how the this input line works, or how it's able to power certain things. But we're going to have this redstone block slider and this dust lines, so that we can pretty much control the parts of the double, or control the last retraction. Let's just say it does a lot of the door. It pretty much is responsible for, I would say, like if I break this, that's important because it helps update that piston. But it's pretty much responsible for doing this. Yeah, it'll do that. But then we want to take 2 observers. And this is pretty much for the closing and the first bit of the opening. But this, we're going to add 2 pistons to have a bit of input event delay. And if you don't know what that is, it's just telling it when to power down. And we're running into a bit of a problem. Like, let me get rid of that. So this was just to mark it pretty much. But we're gonna run into our first problem with these sides is we don't want these to push up on the closing. So to resolve that, we're gonna have an observer, a sticky, and a observer. And after 3 ticks, this will power again, so meaning that this will have a chance to power up again. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to come here, and we're going to place time set to 7 again. So you can actually see what we're doing. Sorry if you couldn't see it, but I'll show you what we did. We had a redstone block slider. We carried up the dust line. We had all that stuff. But we're gonna have an observer right there, and 2 pistons that will be updated from, like this piston will be updated from that, and we're gonna have a dust on here, and then we're gonna have a sticky piston with a block, and we're gonna place an observer here. But if you're in 1.11, break that block because it'll 1 tick, and then we're gonna have a piston, and it helps if we do this. We're gonna have observers like so. And then we're going to have some dust, and then we're going to have a piston right here, and I think on the opening, I'll show you later, but this will be retracted to prevent a 0 tick from happening in the closing. But then we're going to retract these, and to do the last bit of the closing, we're going to do this. Not right here, but we're gonna have our block swapper, and that's gonna actually do a bit of the side closing. We're gonna have it right here, so we can actually see. We're gonna have cyan, I guess, but you don't have to use that color, but I'm just showing you how it works. And then we're going to have a torch, and then we are going to power that after 1 tick, and then we're going to have 6 ticks powering it, so we lock it for a bit longer. We want it to power, the storage to power early in the closing and late on the opening, but this also helps with that, which is why we're doing it. And then that's pretty much will take care of the closing for this side. But what we need to do for the opening, I mean, I'm just going to use still the color green, but the only thing that's different is we're going to have a 3 tick right here, and now update these back pistons. And what you may be, if you're really observant, right, you'll notice that what will happen first is on the closing, or sorry, the opening, is that this dust will update this piston so it pushes up. But on the what happens next, right, is the sticky is right here, because it'll be pushed to the from the closing, so it'll be powered. But this piston will update these observers, and these will 1 tick after 0.2 seconds. So this is why we add a bit of event delay, so that we can tell this slider to push down a bit later, so that it can actually grab the back blocks. And then what this observer will tell it next, right, since it's still in this state, is, hey, power me again. And so it'll 1 tick these pistons, or sorry, 0 tick them probably, into the spot right there, and then they'll get updated by this dust. I hope that makes sense, right? As I'm explaining. Again, I did not come up with these. I just hope these this makes sense to you why we do it like that. And then that will already do a bit of the opening, like the pistons, or sorry, the stickies will be, it'll be like this. And what we need to do is power the slider after 3 ticks, right? So we're just going to grab 3 observers and do that. And what will essentially happen is after 3 ticks, this will push up, and basically this observer will end up powering, like, it'll take 1 tick to get pushed up, right? But it'll end up here, and then it will 1 tick after 0.5 seconds, meaning that this will start retracting after 0.6 and fully retract after 0.75, which is what we want. And so we have to do it. We're almost done, but we have to do a couple more things. The first thing is we have to send down the slider at the right time. So this is the timing you generally do it. Yes, like some of this stuff is just standard timings, I guess. But I'll tell you what to do. But then we'll retract that, of course. But this will power. But another thing is, it's now they're in this state, and we need to find a way to get it back into this state. So the way we do it is like so. We're gonna have 3 observers, block, a sticky, with a redstone block here. And we're going to do it like that. And this will... so here's what will happen. Is that this is 2 ticks and this is 5 ticks. But these are observers, meaning that this will 1 tick. Meaning that this will end up... This redstone block will end up powering, or bud powering, this slider after 0.75 seconds, what we want. But there's a problem, is we need a 1 tick it back down so it does not cause any problems on the closing or the opening. So to actually 1 tick it down so that it will actually finish, we need from this hopper, we're going to take 1, 2, and 3 observers so that it will do that. And we'll just remove that so we can actually do the sides later. It should do that on the closing, but on the opening, it should do that. Okay, and before I forget, before we do this, I'm going to place an important piston right here. So we're going to have a piston, which is going to be for a bit later, for the top, and we're going to have a sticky, and this is actually going to be retracted to prevent a 0 tick from happening later. You'll see. But this side is a bit actually almost identical, but the only difference is we don't need that because we have enough space to power it like this. So we're going to have 2 hoppers, like that, 2 slabs like so, like that. Pretty much what we did for this side. No need to explain. But I would say the only important part is this, because this prevents the, on the closing, right? This prevents it from being updated again. But this, they will still, the dust or that will still update it. So we'll have that, dust, then we'll have redstone blocks, a blocks like that. Pistons, pretty much your standard slider. And then we're going to have a block, like the same thing. I'll do it a bit quicker though. Because you should know how this works at this point. This will also this pretty much just prevents it from going back up on the closing. And we're going to have slab, block, next we're going to actually do this. The only another different thing is just because of the bottom is we're going to have a hopper instead of those two pistons that update. But pretty much there's just only minor differences. Then we're going to have pretty much the same idea. But I'll explain another thing before we finish. Or like, yeah, I'll explain a thing like after or before we finish. Oh shucks, this needs to be a porch like the other side, and we pretty much have that. And then we're going to have 3 ticks, like so. Then, retract that. Yeah, we'll just have it like this. And, like this, we'll do this thing. Blah. Piston. Dust. Powered rail. 3 tick to update, of course. Then, pretty much like that. Oh, you might be wondering why we make this a slab, and that is for that observer not to power it. That block, if that doesn't make sense to you. But, I think that should be it, and we can always give it a good test. Reset it. Oh, one more thing before I flick. We're about to forget this part. Now it should work. Never mind. And the problem was, yes, that didn't get reset. It should work after I do some stuff. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about testing it, just be sure to be very careful with how you do stuff. Oh, I forgot another thing. This needs to be pushed down, and so the way we do it is a bit different, but pretty much the same. We have that, and then the slider will push down. Now both sides work. Okay, now let's do the top. Now, the first thing we want to do, we want to first worry about the closing. So, we'll do yellow, of course. And of course, I'll actually just get everything set up so you can easily understand this. So, what we'll have to do, right, is we're going to first do the closing for the top piston, and this will be done like so. And for the closing, we also need to not only one tick this, but after we one tick it, we need to pull this back to not cause problems on the opening. So the way we do this is actually timed perfectly for the opening. We're just gonna grab some dust, like so. This is pretty much the standard way of doing it. And we're gonna have dust here. Don't mind that. We're just gonna reset this and then update it. Oh, I was just showing that. Never mind. But it'll be like, we need to do it like that. And we'll just reset it for the closing. But for the opening, never mind, I'll do it like that. We need to power this instantly. And so what we do to power it instantly is a bit interesting. We're going to have a 4-tick, and it serves multiple reasons. One will just be discussed for later. Actually, this will be a repeater, just for the timings later. We're going to have dust. We're going to have obsidian, so that this won't screw up or push back blocks when it doesn't need to happen. And then we're going to have an observer, so that this block right here gets butted on the opening. So it's going to kind of help with an instant extension. Not really instant, but there's nothing you need to worry about. Like, it starts pretty much budding when we want it to, and then it'll do a bit of the retraction. Now, it'll be like this, but this will still be powered. But the way we deal with it is we want to cut it off after a certain amount of time. And this piston, I'll explain afterwards, but basically, we're going to have a sticky piston and a redstone block right here. And so in the closing, this will retract, but this will still be powered. But in the opening, this will retract for a brief moment, and this will get one ticked off, cutting off the signal when at the correct timing. And so we got that pretty much. And let's take care of these side things, because they're pretty easy. We'll next do this one, because why not? And this will be in sync. Next, we have we need a 0-tick like the sticky piston, right? Like if I get this right, sorry, wrong block. Is we want this, right? It'll be like this. So it'll pretty much do this bit, like it'll power, then pull it back up. But we need to 0-tick this. So the way we 0-tick it is, you see this, we have a piston right here, or an observer, a block, a 2-tick, and a piston, a sticky, and a sticky facing like that. You can face it down or point it towards that, or something like. You can either have a block it facing like that, or if you really wanted to, you can have it facing like this. So that we zero tick it, and basically this observer will get activated after 1 tick, so that's 2 ticks. Then after 2 ticks it becomes a 4 tick, and this 0 tick yields a 0 tick after 0.2 seconds. That's pretty much the timings. Now we got almost 2 moves left for the top, and then we're done. The first one we can 1 tick, which is quite nice. Sorry, I need to delete some blocks. The way we 1 tick it is we come here, and then we're going to have 2 observers, a sticky with a block, and then we're going to place a torch, and then we're going to place a sticky like so, and place a observer. So what will happen is after 3 ticks, this will retract, meaning that it will end up at this state after 0.45 seconds, meaning that this will power after 0.45 seconds, and this observer with the sticky piston will power after 2, but because it's 1 tick, it'll start retracting at 0.75 and fully retract after 0.9. Now, we need to actually do the 0 ticks, or the pseudo 0 tick for the last move, and the way we do it is like so. So we're going to have a sticky piston like this, and then we're going to have a redstone block, then we're going to have an observer, and then we're going to have a observer up here. So after 5 ticks, so this observer will update after 6 and then 7 and then power that. So this is a pseudo 0 tick found that SpitNight helped me find. And what will happen is after 7 ticks, this will extend and end up in the state after 0.85 seconds. But this shouldn't cause any problems because this sticky piston is in its middle of its state of retracting. But after 8 ticks, or 0.9 seconds, right, which this dust powers at 0.5, so we need 6, 7, 8, but since it's 1 tick, this will retract after 0.9, so therefore the neighboring piston will get updated instantly, and it'll be pseudo 0 ticked. And before we test it, this piston has to be there, or else the top wouldn't fully retract. Like, it wouldn't start, but I believe this should be it, if I haven't made any mistakes. Oh, that's not biggie, but there's an easy fix to prevent that. You just have, we're just going to move it here on the closing, and then place 2 observers in a block. I'll fix that on the closing, and this is what should on the opening, and yep. It does that, which is pretty good. Now, we'll do the bottom. Now, the bottom, we've placed those observers, but we'll start with the most important part, and this is this redstone block thing. and we need to power it 4 times so that we can finish the closing. So, the first thing we do is we're going to push a lamp into this observer thing, and it will update. And so the next thing we need to do is just power it at the corresponding times, or about 3 or so times, I guess. And so the first way we do it is with this lamp, and then next thing we do is have an observer and a 3-tick repeater going into a dust. And then we're going to do this with the storage. So the first thing we're going to do is probably the redirect bud. Is pretty much this. If you haven't seen this redirect bud, essentially in the closing, this will power, right? But since this block is retracted, it'll power this. But on the opening, right, we start this this repeater will cause this this block to become block 36 after about 2 game ticks, meaning that this will, after 2 game ticks, this will automatically change its state. But the sticky piston right here does not realize it'll still be extended like this. But what will happen is as the triple is firing, as soon as the block ends up in this state, it will automatically start retracting, and then which basically means that that the top is maxed out, and it just helps with that pretty much. And this has to be a 1 tick because of the closing. And then we of course do that, and then we're going to do this next storage bit, right? And we're going to control it like this for the closing. And before I forget, this needs to be a hopper so it doesn't mess up during the closing. But for the opening, the first thing we're going to do, so that we get it. Also, one last thing before we finish the opening or start it, before I forget, is we're going to have a observer, a sticky piston, I think right here, not right there, actually it's one later, or earlier, that. And then we're going to have an observer right here, and then we're going to have a block. That'll be for the closing. Why we want it like this? Essentially, after 8 ticks, this sticky piston will extend, which is the exact delay we want. And this is pretty much the closing, but we want to do the opening, which we have to do a couple things a bit differently. This is the last thing for the closing, is that we want a piston like this, an observer, and a block, which will 1-tick this torch, or 1-tick this dust, and then power it, which is what we want for the redirect bud. And then, what is it? What did I want to say? Basically, right, it'll do that. But the first thing what we want to do, since this controls that, is we want to, the first thing that happens in the opening is we want an observer with a hopper. And 2 observers like that, so that this dust will power, and it'll instantly get updated. and the storage will start retracting after 0.35 seconds and 0.45. And the next thing we want to do is, this is extended a bit late, but we want to retract it a bit earlier in the opening. We want it to start retracting after 0.4 seconds. And so the way we get around this is like so. We're going to have a piston. Like, let's break this so we have room. We're going to have a piston that updates this. And then we're going to have two observers like so. And then we're going to have our observer. And let me rate this. And let me explain how this thing works, if I can show you. So the reason why we have this sticky with that observer is it'll retract late in the closing, but this piston will update this observer instantly, meaning after 0.4 seconds, this will retract, but it'll get pushed out, so it will be ready for the closing. The last thing we want to do for the storage for the opening is this sticky piston. And funnily enough, that is actually very easy. You see this observer, we're going to replace that block. Then we're going to have another observer, and then another observer. So about 4 observers, or this will start extending after 0.5 seconds. So that's the delay we want. And this is the reason why this sticky piston has to be 0.5, because this is a bit one game tick off of this, but that's not important. And this will instantly update it on the opening, so it'll manually do that. And it should do this closing, and it should do the storage. See? Now we just need to do the double. Now the double, SpitNight helped me with the double, or he helped come up with this nice double. So the first thing we'll do is, after 0.5 seconds, we need to zero tick this. And so the way we do it is, we are going to grab some orange wool and place a 2-tick repeater, and then we're going to use that that 0 tick. So we're going to have it like this, and then we're going to have a dropper and a hopper, and we're going to place piston in there to silence it. And then we're going to have a observer, and this will 0 tick this after 0.5 seconds, meaning it'll instantly end up here. And the reason, and you might think, well, how is this block able to grab this after 0.5 seconds, and this is still able to extend and not end up like pushing it into the storage block into the floor? Well, to answer your question, this uses a bit of a tile tick priority, meaning that this observer thing right here will always active, like these 2 pistons will always tell it to activate later in the tick than that piston, if that makes sense. It just is telling stuff when to fire. That's how pretty much any 0 tick works. Is tile tick priority, or head. But then we're going to have this sticky piston, this piston with this observer, and it'll go right here, going into a solid block. Now this has to be solid so that this sticky piston can grab its block. But we run into another problem, is we don't want this to have power on the closing, or else it'll screw it up. So to fix that, we're going to do an og chain. So we're going to have stuff like this. We're going to have observers like so. After 6 observers, we're going to retract it, or 0.7, so we don't run into any problems. Like so. And this is why we have a hopper right here, is we're going to have an updater, so because it's getting butted. And then we're going to have a redstone block right here, because it's getting butted from above, or it's getting butted by this block. Then we're going to have an observer, and it's going to run into 2 observers, a hopper, and another observer, and a sticky, and a block right here. So if I didn't explain before, this piston right here will just cause this to 1 tick after 0.6 and retract after 0.75 because of the timings. And this will end up here, 1 ticking, causing it to retract after 0.75 and 0.9. But we need one interesting thing we need to do, if we do, is we're going to use this thing right here again. So let me get ready to do it again, like break some blocks. I won't forget to replace them, but we're going to place a piston so that we update this. And then we're going to have an observer right here. How about we just break this, place that piston, and then we're going to place that back. We're essentially just trying to access the 0 tick, and we're going to place this back. And then, of course, that's 0 tick, but that doesn't matter. You can just easily reset it. But basically, we're going to swing to this observer right here. And then we're going to, not right there, but we're going to swing to here. And then we're going to swing here. And then we're going to add another piston. And this, in theory, should be the entire door, if I remember correctly. But, make sure you place all your blocks. And if not, I can always debug. Yeah, it's a sticky, and that's a piston. Poggers, pretty good. Should do the retraction. And then we can always test. It should be correct. Unless I've broken everything, which I always do. And then we can test it, and then boom. We're done. And then after that, you can fill in your floor blocks, and hopefully you found something out from this tutorial. Thank you very much.